that there are many things that have gone wrong with prostate. In the prostate, you have this cancer that grows. It's out in the peripheral tissue. It's usually out here in the periphery. It's never towards the middle. And it can be due to a wrong diet. Wrong diet here would be a diet filled with animal products like meat from animals. Aging, you don't see prostate cancer in young men. You see it in older men. And it just keeps on going. So there are many different things that will push you towards development of prostate cancer. The one thing that brought this to my attention was the fact that we saw in the School of Public Health and in studies of epidemiology that the rate of prostate cancer in men is equal to the rate of breast cancer in women. So you have to ask yourself, where is the commonality? Where are the two joined? What's going on? And it turns out that the breast tissue as well as the prostate tissue accumulates zinc. And zinc has the ability to kill prostate cancer. And so this is what we're looking at here. Zinc plays an active role in maintaining prostate health. In fact, the prostate accumulates more zinc than any other cell in the human body. Studies reveal that the presence of zinc in the body helps to suppress tumor growth, especially in the prostate. So zinc, if you have different tissues like the thyroid accumulates iodine. The parathyroids accumulate boron. The prostate, the human prostate, accumulates high doses of zinc. And zinc is the one tissue that has the highest concentration of zinc is the prostate. Now it turns out that all cells have a requirement for some zinc. Zinc acts as a tumor suppressor, altering the biology of prostate cells to make them less likely to undergo malignant transformation and less able to multiply and survive as cancer cells. Zinc is a powerful tumor suppressor. Researchers have discovered that there is a transporter protein that enables the peak levels of zinc to be maintained in the prostate. The transporter is stimulated by a hormone called testosterone and prolactin. Now, what's interesting here is that we have seen from the time that a male undergoes male menopause, it's called andropause. From the time that a man undergoes male menopause to the time of death is about 15 years on average, nationwide. So that, and what we have discovered is that testosterone, it's the lack of testosterone. Lack of testosterone is what gives you andropause, male menopause. And there are doctors out there that say, if you take testosterone, it's going to be like pouring gasoline on a fire for development of prostate cancer. And the answer is liar, liar, liar. Because testosterone does not stimulate the making of prostate cancer. Please get that in your heads. Testosterone does not stimulate the making of prostate cancer. What testosterone does do is that testosterone stimulates the transporter to allow the prostate to up the levels of zinc into the tissue, and that is what protects you from prostate cancer. Okay? Lack of zinc, you get prostate cancer. So the prostate makes the fluids that help you to lubricate the different tissues of the body. The bulk of prostatic fluid is secreted from the outermost regions of the prostate, the so-called the peripheral zone. Here's the urethra, here's the peripheral zone, and that's where prostate cancer grows. And frankly, that's the area of the prostate that has the least amount of zinc. So the zinc deficiency in the outer edges of the prostate is where the cancers like to grow. Cells in the peripheral zone are highly specialized to accumulate zinc. The result is that prostate tissue contains zinc that's 10 to 15 times that of any other tissue in the body. Prostate peripheral zone cells are empowered with a special zinc transporter called the ZIP1, and this helps to pull low level of zinc in the outer edge of the prostate, and with the ZIP1, you can increase the concentration of zinc into very high levels inside the prostate. We have now found the ZIP transporter in the stomach. We have found it in the breast. We have found it in the thyroid. We have found it in other tissues. And when we look at cancer rates in these other tissues, we find that they come up pretty close to the same rate of cancer like we see in the prostate. So zinc is not just unique to the prostate. There are other tissues that are zinc dependent also. High levels of zinc in the prostate gland have been shown to be an essential factor in preventing the initiation of cancer in the prostate. At high levels, zinc is toxic to most human cells, but the prostate has developed a mechanism for concentrating zinc, and which allows the prostate to put these super high levels of zinc into the tissue. And basically, the higher the zinc in the prostate, the less problems with prostate cancer you will see in the population. Zinc has been found to be a very powerful tumor suppressor. Zinc has the ability to turn off, it switches on the programmed cell death mechanism called apoptosis. Apoptosis is one of the body's main self-protection mechanisms. And basically, zinc has the ability to go to a cancer cell, turn on the switch, and say, it's time to die. It's time to take away your immortality. Cancer cells think of themselves as being immortal. Zinc takes away the immortality of the cancer. Okay? Now you understand the importance of zinc, and there have been studies basically showing that in prostate cancer, the cells of the cancer lose their ability to concentrate zinc. That's why it's so important to keep this gland concentrated with zinc. So basically, I would say the following. All men above age 50 should be taking zinc on a daily basis for the rest of your life. And the answer will be 50 milligrams per day. Yeah. So zinc it's been shown that zinc blood levels decrease, low levels of zinc are seen in increased malignancies such as lung cancer, head and neck cancer, breast cancer, stomach cancer, esophageal cancer, prostate cancer, where there's elevated zinc levels, these tumors just don't exist. Okay? Do you hear me? This is why zinc is so crucial, not just for the prostate. It's crucial for the breast, for the stomach, for the esophagus, the head and neck, the lungs. Zinc is very crucial towards helping us to improve. There are over 300 enzymes in the body that are zinc dependent, and you'll read that in that paper that I gave you. And so you need zinc for normal DNA function, for normal enzyme function, for normal gland function. And it turns out that zinc also helps to kill breast cancer, kills thyroid cancer, and so on. So that, the importance of zinc too is that it stimulates the immune system to get very, very powerful. In fact, I saw a guy the other day. He came in, last time I saw him was 8 years ago. And I said, what's been happening to you? I haven't seen you in 8 years. And he looked at me and he says, well, you did that test on me for zinc. And he said, you put me on zinc 8 years ago. I've been taking zinc every day since then. He said, this is the first time I've gotten sick. He said, I haven't been sick in 8 years. What am I doing? I'm working myself out of a job. But basically, he basically sat there and said, you know, you put me on zinc and I haven't been sick since then. And that was 8 years ago. This is the first time I've gotten a cold. Okay? So zinc is a very powerful stimulator of the immune system to help you fight off infections. And in fact, I belong to the Greenville Seventh-day Adventist Church in South Carolina. And I gave this lecture to our group there, and many of them come up to me and they sit there and say, I've been taking my zinc since you gave this lecture 3 years ago, and praise the Lord, I haven't been sick in 3 years. Okay? So, folks, start taking zinc. 50 milligrams a day. Okay? Both men and women. 50 milligrams a day. Yes. Zinc? Yes. In fact, you need zinc in order to make thyroid hormone. You need iodine to make thyroid hormone. You need selenium to make thyroid hormone. And if you don't have these trace minerals, you're going to have trouble with hypothyroidism, okay? Now let me give you one, this is just a side note. The side note here is that in China, they did a study called the China study, okay? And in China, they discovered that in certain communities, there was very little selenium in the community. The rate of cancer in the community was like 5,000 cancer cases per 100,000 people in the population. They then took the people in that community and they started them on selenium, 200 micrograms per day. And then they watched them. Over the next 5 years, the rate of cancer, all cancers, all categories, the rate of cancer dropped from 5,000 per 100,000 down to 500 per 100,000. A 90%, 90% drop in cancer rates in the population just by putting people on selenium, which prompted the chairman of the Department of Public Health, the School of Public Health, his name is Dr. Walter Willett at Harvard Medical School. Dr. Willett put out a recommendation that he wrote a book, and it's 7 health habits that you need to develop. And in his book, he said, one of the health habits that we all need to develop in this nation is the taking of selenium on a daily basis. Selenium will decrease the rate of cancer in this population by 90%. Folks, the number one disease in this nation right now is cancer. Number one killer of the people. Cancer has now surpassed heart disease as the number one killer. And if we were to put everybody on selenium, guess what? We would get rid of one of the major industries in this nation, the cancer industry. Big pharma. Why? Because we would get rid of 90% of the cancers that they're treating with their mega $1,000 drugs, with the use of a simple vitamin called selenium, or mineral called selenium. And it's the Chinese who gave us the idea. No, boron is not so much for the thyroid. The boron is for the parathyroids, which help you with your skeleton and with arthritis. Iodine. You can't make thyroid hormone unless you've got plenty of iodine. There's no iodine in the water because there's no iodine up here in these mountains or anywhere else. Now, look at this. Studies on variation in zinc from groundwater and other environments have shown that areas of the nation that have the lowest amounts of zinc have the highest rates of prostate cancer. By the way, where are the zinc mines of the United States? Huh? Right? Where? No? Oklahoma. Why do I know that? Because Mickey Mantle, the baseball player, his dad worked in the zinc mines of Oklahoma. Okay? How do you like that one for trivia? What they have noticed is that in mice that are genetically prone towards development of prostate cancer, the tumors will shrink and go down in size in the presence of taking zinc. So these animals are built to develop prostate cancer, and their cancers will go down in the presence of taking zinc for these animals. Rats that are exposed to a known prostate chemical carcinogen found that the animals with the high tumor incidence had low zinc levels, consistent with human studies that have been done. In carcinogen-treated rats, demonstrated high levels of markers of oxidative stress and pro-tumor signaling molecules, and so on. Now, basically, we need to talk about chemical exposure. The more chemicals we expose ourselves to, the more cancer we get. Let me give you an illustration. How many of you know where Cancer Alley is at here in the United States? Cancer Alley is between St. Louis and New Orleans, and it's the Mississippi River, where all the industries of the north and all the industries along the Missouri River dump their carcinogens, their chemicals, into the Mississippi. And then the communities, I think it's 50 miles on either side of the Mississippi, pull water from the Mississippi, and they drink that water. The rates of cancer in those communities are like 10 to 15 times higher than the rest of the nation. Which explains why is there St. Jude's Hospital for Children in Mississippi. In Memphis. Because of the high rate of cancer among children who drink water out of the Mississippi. The more contaminated your water is with carcinogens and the chemicals that we've got, the more the rate of cancer you will see in the population. This includes breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and so on. We're talking 15 to 20 times rate of cancer higher than the rest of the nation for all the women that live along the Mississippi River, from St. Louis all the way down to New Orleans. That is called Cancer Alley. So when you're talking to people and they live close to the Mississippi and they're getting their water out of there, you know what's going to potentially happen there. So it's better to, be sure that those people, and in these mice that were, they gave them a known carcinogen, and the animals went on to develop prostate cancer. But if you give them zinc, you can modify that. And human prostate cancer cells treated with zinc significantly reduced expression of the pro-inflammatory cytokines known to promote prostate cancer. So zinc helps to reduce inflammation in there. Now, folks, this one you've got to take home because this is going to be your most powerful statement tonight. There is a new product that's just been released by the FDA. It's probably the most powerful antioxidant that we've now got. You got a product out there called vitamin C. It's a good antioxidant. Vitamin C, the body can use over and over again, maybe 4 times. There is a new antioxidant that's come out on the market that the body can use 20,000 times. That is, you can reuse it up to 20,000 times. It's called PQQ. Write this down because you will never forget it. PQQ. You need 20 milligrams a day, and PQQ is probably the most. PQQ not only works as an antioxidant, it also stimulates cells to make new mitochondria. Mitochondria is what helps you to make energy for your cells, okay? Illustration, come on up here. This gentleman is 90 years old. You're 93 years old. Turn around. Now, when he was born, these brain cells were with him, and they're still with him, okay? But the brain cells are slowly maturing, and they're getting, all their biochemistry inside is getting older and older and older. The mitochondria for his brain cells are starting to make less and less energy. As those mitochondria make less energy, he's more prone towards development of Parkinson's. Parkinson's is a disease of old mitochondria inside the neurons of the brain. PQQ stimulates the making of new mitochondria in these nerve cells, okay? And so the other disease that happens at my age, 65, 5% of you will develop Alzheimer's, okay? By the time we are 85 years old, 80% of us will have Alzheimer's. So as our neurons get older and older and older, Parkinson's starts showing up, Alzheimer's starts showing up, and PQQ reverses the changes that are occurring inside the neurons and helps those neurons to become young again. It's in the medical literature. It just got released by the FDA not more than a few weeks ago. Thank you. No, it's you can get it at the health food store. It's over the counter. And I didn't think too much of this stuff except that, I thought, new mitochondria, who cares? And then I did a weekend warrior event. I cut the grass. And I picked weeds. And by the end of the day, I was aching all over, okay? I thought, I'll just go to bed, I'll sleep it off, and I'll feel good in the morning. Woke up the next morning, I'm still aching and hurting all over the place. So I thought, well, now's a good time to try some PQQ and see if I can crank up the old energy production. Within 1 hour, 50% of my muscle aches and pains had disappeared. Within 4 hours, 100% of the muscle aches and pains had disappeared. First time taking PQQ. I'm telling you, this is the most powerful thing I have seen that's coming down the pike. There's a product out there called resveratrol that comes from grapes and muscadines that helps to keep you guys young and so on. PQQ is predicted to outdo resveratrol by a long shot. 20 milligram per day. It's a vitamin. It's in the coenzyme Q10 family. But it just came out on the market, and I'm telling you, they should have it at the health food store here. If they don't, they can get it. But I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like it. There is PQQ with coenzyme Q10, but again, it comes in the same, it's a part of the family. But you need to recognize that as you guys are getting older and you're starting to develop your Parkinson's and your Alzheimer's, the biomarkers for these diseases, when you start taking PQQ, the biomarkers start going back down, telling me that there's reversal at the mitochondria, of the mitochondria, and that the cells are making new mitochondria and making more energy. Yes? How come you're always wondering what's too low or too much? As far as I know, they recommend only 20 or 40 milligrams a day. I haven't gone beyond that point. At the very beginning with coenzyme Q10, they were recommending 10, 20 milligrams. Today, we're using 400 milligrams, okay? So we use like 400 milligrams of coenzyme Q10 for treatment of congestive heart failure. So I don't know where the limits will be for PQQ. But if you get online, start searching PQQ on Google, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised what you find. This is interesting. Zinc treatment significantly lowers levels of other molecules that tumors use to promote new blood vessel growth, as well as proteins that promote invasion and metastatic spread. So zinc is used by the prostate to help stop the making of new blood cells for the tumor, and it helps to keep this cancer from spreading. So this is what kills people with prostate cancer. Now, to give you an illustration, they have tried giving zinc at different levels. They've gone up to 90 milligrams or 10 milligrams. What they find is that the zinc didn't work as well at high levels as compared to low levels. So what dosage is best? Probably somewhere between 25 and 85 milligrams a day works. I just sit there for convenience and say, go to 50 and stay there, okay? So, but 50 is a good dose, and it should help all of you. What
about for children or young adults?
I would give lower doses of zinc, probably like 25 milligram or 10 milligram for children. For the teenage adults, I would say 25. Again, remember, zinc, if you take zinc, zinc will decrease total amount of infections in the population. So that zinc really, really does work very nicely for that. Zinc, prostate cancer remains a serious threat to the lives of men past middle age. Fortunately, prostate cancers grow very slowly, making early intervention possible. Listen, you remember a guy by the name of Linus Pauling, the inventor of vitamin C? Remember him? Linus Pauling developed prostate cancer at age 65. Linus Pauling decided not to do any surgery or anything for that. He took his high doses of vitamin C. Linus Pauling died of a heart attack at age 94. He did not die of his prostate cancer, okay? So just to let you know, prostate cancer does grow slowly, and we have a tendency in this society that says, I've been diagnosed as having cancer, I need to have it out tomorrow. Some cancers can sit around for a while, like thyroid cancer. Some thyroid cancers, you can take them out 2 or 3 years from now. They don't have to come out tomorrow, okay? So you need to be aware. The problem is tomorrow, the cost of the surgery is going to be 5 times what it is today, So the healthiest prostate tissues that have been found have the highest levels of zinc. And there is a test that has been developed, and you might be able to do that test here. It's called the zinc taste test. And basically what we do is we put some zinc sulfate in some water, a known concentration of water. If your body has got plenty of zinc, the fluid will taste bitter within 5 seconds. When you put that fluid in your mouth and you hold it for 30 seconds, within 5 seconds, if you've got plenty of zinc, that fluid will be so bitter you'll be spitting it out. But if at the end of 30 seconds, the fluid tastes like water, you're really zinc deficient. And it's a very simple test. It only costs pennies to do, and it's one that you guys can do here in church, okay? It's an easy test to do, but it is a test that will give us a very quick and reasonable answer as to whether somebody is zinc deficient or not, or if they're getting enough, okay? But it's known as the zinc taste test. Any questions?
Do they have zinc sulfate at the store?
No, ma'am. Dorothy has got some cards of a place in Colorado. Yes, you've got the card, and you can call them up, and they have the zinc taste test fluid there, and they can send you a bottle of that, and then you can try it and see what happens, okay? So, yes, ma'am.
Let's get it on tape.
We need this on tape.
Thanks. I just want to know about diatomaceous earth because it contains zinc and selenium and silica.
Okay, what's wrong with her statement? Say it again. They need to hear you. I want you to listen carefully and then talk to me and tell me what's wrong with her statement. Go ahead.
Is it my accent?
No, you speak perfect Puerto Rican.
Diatomaceous earth. The word contains probably that you don't like. It's made up of zinc, selenium, and silica.
Okay. So what's wrong with the statement? Huh? Her problem is that you don't know how much zinc, selenium, things like that. And that's part of the problem is that we've got this science down to the milligrams. So with zinc, you need 50 milligrams. Diatomaceous earth, how many milligrams of zinc are in there? Oh, it's got zinc in there. That's a bad statement. It needs 50 milligrams. It's got selenium in there. Well, it needs 200 micrograms. How much does it have? 5 microgram? You see what I'm saying? So you need specifics as far as some of these things are concerned. There's one out there that provides trace minerals. It's a product that comes out of Utah, and it contains 95 trace minerals. Okay? What's wrong with that product? Huh? It's not how much. If it's got 95 trace minerals, that means that there's only 95 elements or 96 elements on the periodic table, which means the product contains plutonium, contains uranium, contains mercury, contains all sorts of evil, wicked elements that we don't need in the body. So, so be careful with these things that say, oh, you get all the trace minerals you need out of this product. Well, it's going to end up being a product that has stuff in it that you don't want to see. Okay? Does that make sense? So, because, listen, one of my patients came in and she had cancer of the omentum of the intestine. You have the intestine, there's a little lap on the front of the intestine, and it's It's called the omentum. And she had cancer of the omentum. And I went, where did this come from, you know? And so we basically, and this was the third rare cancer that she had. So I sat there and said, we did trace mineral analysis on her. We did a trace mineral test. She was very high in uranium. I said, where in the world are you getting uranium from? And so I asked her, you know, we got some, she was, quote, on well water, okay? We checked her well water, and the well water was loaded with uranium. Now here's the kicker. She then went to all of her neighbors, 70 different neighbors, and told them that, you know, if their well water was coming from the same aquifer as hers, that they were all getting poisoned by uranium. Do you know that 25 families sat there and said, we don't want to hear about what's happened to you. We don't want to test our water. We're just going to keep on drinking our well water. How stupid is that? And so basically, you know, if you guys are on a well, please have your well water checked for heavy metals. Because if your well water's got uranium or plutonium or some type of heavy metal in there, it may be killing you. I'm sorry, not all well water is safe, nor is all water coming out of the city, but it's better than drinking water that's contaminated with heavy metals. And that's where we get into problems. So, you know, live a cautious life. That's all I'm asking you to do. Question the things that are going on. If you think you got a nice well, great. Check the water out. Make sure that it's clean. Make sure that it's not loaded with a lot of, you know, weird stuff in it. And if you live along the Mississippi, don't drink the water from there, because that water will kill you. Yes, sir. Towards the back.
Are there other nutrients that we need to take along with some of these other things that you've been mentioning in terms of zinc and selenium and sulfur and so forth in order to get the best absorption rate?
Most trace minerals get absorbed pretty easily. It's just an issue of the fact that our land, or we have been going over and over and over it again. I mean, out in California, they harvest 4 different crops off the land there 4 times a year. Okay?
Okay.
So that basically for a lot of trace minerals, you need to replace them because the soils are not being replenished.
The second question I have is, for someone who might have acid reflux, is that going to have an effect on the absorption rate of some of these things that you've been talking about, zinc, selenium, boron?
The answer,
if we're taking an antacid to treat it.
And the answer is that if you are taking like a proton pump inhibitor, something like Protonix, Acifex, et cetera, a lot of these drugs will decrease the production of acid in the stomach, which then means you're going to have problems with absorption of vitamin B12. In fact, the proton pump inhibitors have now been shown to cause problems with B12 absorption. And so people who are taking chronic medications for acid reflux to decrease the acid production in the stomach need to be on a B12 shot about once a month. Okay?
What about Nexium or Omprezolam? I think that's...
Exactly, those drugs, same thing. Now, folks, you know, one of the problems that we see here is he has chronic reflux. Foods that are known to cause chronic reflux include coffee include foods that are very spicy hot, okay? Tomatoes, not spicy hot, but something in tomato causes you to have reflux. Foods that are hot spice, black pepper. In fact, when I was at the School of Public Health, we learned this little statement. It says, many an alcoholic has learned to become an alcoholic at his mother's kitchen table. How can that be true? We discovered that it's black pepper. That if you take a bunch of puppies and you give puppies regular puppy chow or puppy chow with black pepper, and then you offer both groups of puppies water or water with alcohol, all the puppies with black pepper in their puppy chow will always drink the water with the alcohol. And if you switch them off, the puppies that eat the puppy chow with black pepper go again to the water with alcohol. We train our children to become alcoholics by what we feed them at the table. And the more hot, spicy we make it, the greater the risk of development of that, and especially black pepper. One of my patients, when she was 25, was a confirmed alcoholic, drinking a fifth of liquor every day. And I said, did you ever eat food with black pepper? She said when she was 8 years old, her father taught her to put black pepper on the eggs and everything. And she said it was so black that you could barely see the food underneath it. And by the time she was 13, 14 years old, had her first drink of alcohol, she said it was like drinking water. So, please, be aware that, some of these things that we do to our families, we're creating some very bad habits for later on, especially black pepper in relationship to alcohol. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Hot, spicy, yes. Is this the same with, hot, spicy foods? The answer is yes. You train the taste buds to eat lots of spicy, hot stuff, you're going to crave other stuff. And, and like this girl, she basically sat there and said, when I drank my first drink of liquor, she said it was like drinking water because my taste buds have been numbed from eating all this hot, spicy stuff when I was younger. Okay? Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, do you have a list of other, dosages or whatever of various other minerals besides the one you're discussing this weekend? And then other question is, do you recommend drinking like bottled water as opposed to tap water? And then I guess the final question is, I take like a multivitamin. Do you recommend getting off multivitamins and then taking individual things at specific milligrams?
A good
and so forth?
multivitamin is great, but we have to be careful what's inside the multivitamin. Like, just to give you an illustration, prenatal vitamins. Who would think that there would be any problem there? In the New England Journal of Medicine, just about 5 or 6 years ago, they published a paper on prenatal vitamins, and they showed that 50% of prenatal vitamins contain no iodine. Yet iodine is crucial towards development of the central nervous system, especially babies inside the uterus. Okay? So look at your stuff and just, get a good look at it and try to make a decision from that. But, we basically, the thing that I do, especially for all of you, is if you got one of these cards, on the back, they offer a Silica product. It's made from pharmaceutical grade opal. And if you will start taking that, the opal, or the Silica, has the ability to increase your mental function. Which is to say that if you take this Silica, you can take anywhere from 5 to 10 pills per day. And when you take, like I gave one of my friends is a dentist up in Hendersonville, and I gave him 5 of these Silica tablets just to see, how he would feel. And he came back to me at the end of the day and he said, "Did you give me some caffeine?" I said, "No, why?" He said, "Well, those Silica tablets that you gave me, the Opal, pharmaceutical grade Opal," he said, "I felt like I had drank 10 cups of coffee that morning." And he said, "And I've been going like running around with all sorts of energy all day long." And he said, "No evidence to suggest tachycardia, nervousness, or anything like you would see in caffeine." The Silica, you were made from silica, and I'm replacing the silica, and you will find out that this stuff really does make you more mentally alert. The pills are 150 milligram, and you can take anywhere from 1 to 10 pills per day. But no, it's not on the back of the card. So on the back, write the word Silica, 150 milligram, and you can take anywhere from 1 to 5 pills per day, depending upon how much energy you need for the day. But I'm telling you, you just never take PQQ, Silica, or any of these things at nighttime, because you won't sleep. Your brain will be so wide awake, and you'll find out that Flechas was right.
How about cayenne pepper drops for the reduction of blood pressure?
There's other better ways to drop the blood pressure than taking something that's a stimulant. If you, especially in the cayenne pepper category, because cayenne pepper is very irritating to the human brain. If you ever want to do research on cayenne pepper and the mice that we give these things to, and you will see that it makes their furs really look funky. And what's interesting is that the mice become so irritable. These are mice that you can play with and everything, but under the influence of cayenne pepper, the mice are all of a sudden biting at you, and they just won't sit still. And cayenne pepper has never been a very good product. There's other better ways to control blood pressure. Especially this new product that's coming out on the market. You can get this one from Amazon. It's called Neo 40, Neo 40, made from beets. And Neo 40 stimulates the body to make nitric oxide. And nitric oxide reverses hardening of the arteries, but nitric oxide also opens up the blood vessels so you have better circulation throughout the whole body. And you can take 1 or 2 pills per day. You will drop your blood pressure in the presence of Neo 40. Works much better than any cayenne pepper would ever approach. Any other questions? Yes.
A couple things. It was kind of a curiosity question. You showed the Chinese study, and at the tail end of that slide, it showed a mean reduced ratio of Y to X. And I was just curious, does that mean that there were more male children born to those?
The Chinese have been very interested to see about, it was the DNA of the X chromosome and the Y chromosome, and they were looking to see if boron was damaging the DNA, and in fact, boron helps to stabilize DNA. It does not damage it. And that's what the Chinese showed. So, subsequent papers have been published by the Chinese and also the Turks looking at the effects of boron on DNA, and the answer is that there is no damage.
So there were no greater number of male children born versus female?
No.
Okay, real quick too, I had several if you don't mind. How much stock do you put in T-scores for osteoporosis if someone has a really good FRAX score?
I go with the T-score because the T-scores I can watch, and so on, and I can see the mineral density. But the thing is that, I have seen what these numbers can do, and I've seen what boron can do, and So I watch boron and I look at my old scores, and then what happens is if somebody's been going down, 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 you put them on boron, 75 milligrams a day, a lot of times will just even them out. It won't let them get worse, but if you give them sometimes 75 milligram or 150, will take the skeleton and just turn it right back up again.
Even for thin people who are very skinny, though, right?
Yes,
Okay.
because boron is being deposited into the bone,
Okay.
where boron in the bone behaves like a magnet, and it sucks calcium into the bone so that you don't lose bone.
What was your T-score prior to the Stanford and starting boron?
I'm sorry?
What was your score prior to going to Stanford, where you got your DEXA scan done, and when you started boron?
I think I was a minus 0.8. And my scores are now way up in the plus signs. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Yeah.
Relative to your pH level in your blood, and given the fact that your body will try to achieve an optimal pH by pulling alkaline minerals out of your bones, can we infer that boron is actually alkalizing, or is it involved in any way in that process? And how important is your pH when considering osteoporosis?
That's more of a question that basically people who eat lots of foods that are very acid, in order to neutralize the acidity in the bloodstream, you suck calcium out of the bone to neutralize the pH. And the boron basically goes right into the bone, and it behaves like a magnet to pull the calcium back into the bone. So, the thing is that we've not seen a problem with that. And in fact, the boron also gets into the saliva, and then the saliva becomes a little bit more acidic. So you get boric acid in the saliva, and it keeps the infection rate down inside the gums and the tissues. And that's because of boric acid. Many of you have used boric acid tablets or boric acid liquid to treat eye infections. And this has been an old-timey treatment for years. In the United States, from about 1908 through about 1938, we used to, you know how we put as a food preservative salt into our canned goods? Well, from about 1908 through 1938, 39, they were putting boric acid, they were putting boron or borax into our vegetables and our fruits and everything, because they were using that as a preservative. If that tells you anything about the fact of where society has moved. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that in Turkey and China and Israel, they had a very low incidence of arthritis because of the high boron levels. What about osteoporosis in those areas?
I checked that out, and the answer is also true. That the osteoporosis rates are down, especially in Israel. They don't have the numbers for Turkey or for China. But in Israel, they did find that to be true. The Israelis who get sick with osteoporosis and so on are the Israelis who move in from other areas, the ones out of Russia, the ones out of the eastern countries, and so on and so on. So the people who are naturally born Israelis who have been drinking boron all their lives rarely ever get problems of osteoporosis. And in fact, one rabbi told me, he said he was sitting at a cafe in Israel at Tel Aviv, and he said you can tell who's an import and who's naturally born. He said the imports walk around like this, okay, the Israelis, and he said that guy came from somewhere else because he said same age Israeli walks around like this, okay? They don't have the osteoporosis that you would see otherwise. But the Israeli doctors can pick them out and they can tell you where they're coming from and how long they've been there just based upon that.
Okay, thank you. Do you think that perhaps because Loma Linda has such high longevity and good health, it's been studied, it has anything to do with the boron that's found in that area in Southern California?
Could be. There is that chance. And so, but I don't have any information on it. But have any of you looked at YouTube presentations on the, quote, giants that lived before the flood? You can go and type in on YouTube giants, and then the word for Nephilim. And the Nephilim were giants that existed before the flood. And they've actually found the skeletons of these people. And these people have skeletons that are somewhere between 10 and 36 feet tall. And what's interesting is, where did they find these skeletons? In areas of the world where there is the highest amount of boron. Just type in the word NEPH, Neph, and you'll see the just type in giants and Neph, and you'll see the videotapes on that. But basically, they have been finding the skeletons of people that existed before the flood. But what's interesting is the skeletons have been found in the areas of the earth where there is the highest concentration of boron. You don't see it elsewhere. Yes, sir?
I had just one other little tidbit that's interesting. I've been using zinc oxide in Balmex for not an antiperspirant, but a deodorant. You only have to use it once a week. It kills bacteria for a whole week. Just a tiny bit under each arm, rubbed around. And so zinc has all kinds of other antibacterial properties too. That's very helpful.
Zinc
been
is,
doing it 15 years and no
if
side
you do
effects.
research on zinc, you'll find it remarkable what it does. But this paper that you have here that we provided for you about zinc should do more than enough to convince you that there is something there. What does zinc look like in the heart? It's called atrial fib. There are some of you who have atrial fib of the heart. But look at the paper. I mean, that paper spells it out that they have seen an increased incidence of atrial fib in people with zinc deficiency.
You talked about testosterone and boron, but what about estrogen and boron?
Actually, boron will take estrogen. The natural estrogen made in the body is called estrone. And then you make estradiol, which is a very, very powerful estrogen. And then you need to weaken that estrogen down to something called estriol, okay? And what happens is that boron will take the estradiol and turn it into the weaker estriol, which has had no association with breast cancer. Estradiol, breast cancer. Estriol, no breast cancer. And that's the estrogen that boron will push you to start making. Does that make sense? I mean, it's really neat. But you need to be aware that estrogen is a growth agent, and it will make you a big person if and you have to be careful with it. Okay? Yes?
I have a quick question about boric acid for the eyes. Would it be helpful for somebody that has preseptal cellulitis?
I have no idea.
A comment. I started taking borax 1/8 of a teaspoon in water to counteract the effects of fluoride. What I was told is that it changes the chemical properties of fluoride in the water, and it's no longer fluoride. It becomes something else. So that was a comment. But my question is, lipoic acid, alpha lipoic acid, how does that benefit the body? Or have you heard of it?
I've heard of alpha lipoic acid. It's used to help with liver detoxification, to get rid of toxins for the liver. It also helps with people who have diabetes, but it's mainly for people with liver disease. It helps with that. Now, there is a disease that is coming up on the scene right now. It's called fatty liver. It's a problem where there's an increased accumulation of fat in the liver. Right now in the United States, it's affecting 33% of the population. Within 10 years, fatty liver will affect 1/2 of you. 1/2 of all Americans will have fatty liver. Fatty liver is now becoming the #1 source of liver failure in the United States. Why? Because we have, there is a chemical that is missing in our diet that is, and it's called choline. And choline you recognize as a product called lecithin, okay? But choline is also in eggs, and we've been telling people to quit eating eggs, right? And because we are not eating eggs, we're eating lots of, everything else. The choline from eggs is crucial towards stopping fatty liver. But right now, 1/3 of you have fatty liver, and within another, by 10 years, 1/2 of everybody in the nation will have fatty liver. And fatty liver is felt to be due to too much sugar. One of the main sources of this is too much sugar. They first identified it back in 1949 at the Mayo Clinic. And at the Mayo Clinic, they had something like, they found a man who was drinking 20 Coca-Colas per day. Now remember, 1949, a Coca-Cola cost 5 cents of Coke. 5 cents of Coke. So for $1, you could buy 20 Cokes. And this guy was drinking 20 Cokes a day, not a diabetic, and he developed fatty liver. So fatty liver is a disease more of too much sugar, and the sugar is accumulating fat inside the liver, and that fat is inflammatory, and then the inflamed liver will turn into fatty liver hepatitis, which then goes into fatty liver cirrhosis. So cirrhosis is not always due to alcohol or being a diabetic. It can just be there because you're eating flat out too much sugar. Don't know about honey, so I can't say. Not the same as sugar. It's still sweet. Okay. Last question. Yes, sir?
What's your opinion about veganism versus ovo-lacto?
Ask me what my opinion is about Jesus Christ after he is risen from the dead. He's in his glorified body and is eating honey and fish. You answer that one, I'll answer yours. In the Cherokee language, the word vegetarian means poor hunter. But basically, I think the answer is that you approach vegetarianism by doing it correctly and being safe with what you're doing. But there are There are some people who need meat. There are some people who, who need extra sources of protein. Other people, they need to be trained and they need to learn how to do this. So the best choice, we were created, listen, if you're a canine, if you eat meat, what does your jaw do? Right? So the jaw in animals that eat meat is like this, but animals that eat vegetables, what happens to their jaw? Right? We were created to be vegetarian. So the original diet of mankind in the Garden of Eden was vegetarianism. Now, what we don't know is whether man ate eggs or whether, whatever other things they ate in the garden. But what I do know is that when I look at Jesus Christ at the resurrection and he's in his glorified body, you got people who just refuse to eat anything from the animal, including honey. And yet I see Jesus Christ at his resurrection eating honey, and he's eating fish in his glorified body. Okay? So I have to I have to try to balance all that out. And again, a lot of the answers to the questions we have in medicine today can be answered from the Bible. And what is life after this, I don't know, but I'm sure that whatever God provides me, I will be thankful. Okay? Yes?
When you were speaking about fatty liver, wouldn't the artificial sugars like high fructose corn syrup, aspartame, and all that fit in the same category?
They've been able to produce fatty liver in humans with the use of corn syrup. I don't know about the aspartame, but I do know that with corn syrup, they've been able to do it as well as regular sugar. Okay? Well, folks, thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow morning.
9:30.
9:30, and we'll be talking about iodine and the implications of what iodine deficiency looks like and what we can do to use iodine to reverse mental function or reverse some of the problems of mental deficiencies with iodine, as well as iodine for fibrocystic breast disease, breast cancer, polycystic ovaries, things of that nature, okay? Thank you. God bless.